Welcome to the channel, and let's look at the top 10 videos from the Nate the Lawyer channel in 2023. Okay, so first, I gotta thank everybody who has subscribed, and I gotta thank everybody who just watches these videos. You know, we put these videos together in hope that they're entertaining and fun, and these stories are interesting to you. So for those who have delved into this channel and subscribed and watched the videos, thank you guys so much. You don't know how much I personally appreciate it, and how much the people behind the scenes also appreciate it, because we put a lot of hard work into these videos and into this content because we want to make it enjoyable. Now, first, I want to start off with showing you guys how the channel was at the beginning of 2023 and how it ended 2023. So at the beginning of 2023, we had 271,000 subscribers, and we ended right now with about 394,000 subscribers, which is remarkable. That's an increase of 123,000 subscribers, and a growth rate about, 45% growth year over year, which is outstanding. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, you're not growing as fast as this person, or you're growing faster than this person. I honestly don't care. I'm appreciative to every single subscriber. Anyone who finds value in these videos, I honestly appreciate so much. And I hope to bring you more content that you can consume and you can watch and be entertained by. So thank you guys so much for those of you who've joined and for those of you who've stuck around. Really, we really appreciate it. Another thing I thought was interesting when I looked at the numbers, I only have 3 out of every 4 people who watch my videos are subscribed. So the people who watch my videos are people who don't subscribe to the channel. And the people who do subscribe, they actually watch at a really, really high rate. But I just found it interesting that the majority of my views come from people who don't subscribe to the channel. And even worse than that, when you look at returning viewers, these are the people who watch multiple videos, who come back and watch video after video after video. The majority of those people haven't subscribed. So, for instance, if my subscriber count reflected my returning viewer count, I would have over 1 million subscribers. I have literally over something like 2 million people a month watching my content. And out of that, like 1.5 million of those are people who return, people who just continuously watch multiple videos. So, you know, I'll ask if it's nothing to hit that subscribe button. So just click it, and the one great thing about clicking the subscribe button, the value added, is that you're not a prisoner to the YouTube algorithm. So for instance, for me to reach these 3.5 million views a month, I have to try to really find stories that the algorithm says, hey, you may like this story, and service it to you, versus if you're a subscriber, it's more likely to do that. And if you're a subscriber with the bell, it automatically shows you that, like, here's the next video, you know, maybe if you like it or not. So, you know, that's really what the subscriber button does for a creator. It allows me to get access to you without having to rely 100% on the algorithm, and you get these videos. But again, you know, it's been working even though there are people who haven't subscribed. But I just find it funny that, you know, I literally have millions of people watching these videos per month repeatedly and just don't subscribe. So if you just have the time, in 5 seconds, just press that button and let's see where it goes. All right, so now let's look at the top 10 videos of 2023 for the channel and just see, like, why they did it. And I'll give you guys some behind the scenes peeks of, you know, whether we thought this video was going to do well, and, you know, how surprised we were. Like, there's some videos where, like, why did this video do this great? It just didn't make any sense to us. But it's just, again, it's a wild ride. So let's start with number 10. Victoria's Secret drops the woke and goes back to sexy.
Now, Victoria's Secret, the brand, is going back to its roots and dropping its feminist and woke makeover after, shock horror, a fall in sales. So GB News viewers can see what the catwalks used to look like. There we go. That's whatever that is. Don't think I'm allowed to say much, am I? Really there, as an engaged man. Now, in 2018, the company rebranded and replaced the usual people for a more diverse range of body types. Okay, so a wide range of body types there.
Buyers said no way to woke lingerie. True, they suffered a financial blow when they put panties on Megan Rapinoe. Victoria's Secret is apparently ditching their woke rebrand of recent years after it didn't translate to financial success. The company said they lost money on unsold merch and the yards of fabric needed to make plus-size panties.
Victoria's Secret, the iconic lingerie brand, has been struggling to keep up with the changing times. Now, after they went woke and went broke, the company has decided to get back to its roots. They're gonna get sexy back. Now, when we were deciding on doing this video, one thing that most people don't realize is that Victoria's Secret actually started as a brand in which they wanted to make the models extremely sexy so men would want to buy the lingerie for their wives. And then eventually women started seeing the lingerie and said, hey, we want to buy that for ourselves. Now, that's fine, but they're selling a fantasy. None of that stuff, those angels and stuff walking around, those are real people, but that's not real life. That's not your everyday life. You're not seeing people like that in everyday life. They're selling a fantasy. It's like a comic book. A comic book are selling superheroes. So when you try to go woke in that type of space, you have to be mindful that people are buying into that fantasy. And I think Victoria's Secret forgot about that. So that's why I thought that was an interesting story. I don't know how all of their sales reps couldn't see the fact that if you were to put out products that people weren't fantasizing about or fantasizing seeing their significant other in, it wasn't going to sell. And they unfortunately had to learn it the hard way. So they went woke and then eventually went broke. But now, as you see, they've changed the tune. Number 9, Stormy Daniels has to pay Trump $600,000 in legal fees. Adult film star Stormy Daniels has been ordered by a court to pay President Trump almost $600,000 in legal fees. Let's talk about it. So this is the case of Donald Trump winning his lawsuit against Stormy Daniels because the case was dismissed and she now has to pay him $600,000 because her attorney, which is Michael Avenatti, was a horrible attorney. And he was trying to promote himself and bring up his own stature. And he used her case to do it, which, is unethical in so many different ways. But essentially, she has to pay him $600,000 for legal fees that he wasted on her frivolous lawsuits. And her lawsuits were the height of being frivolous, but it allowed Michael Avenatti to go on all the TV shows, allowed her to get a little bit of fame, more fame than she's ever gotten. So it was one of those things where you kind of, she's paying $600,000 for the exposure, it seems. She says she'll never pay the money back, but fans really love this story because it's one of those irony stories, right? You're suing him for $1 million and then now has to pay his legal fees because this case was really that bad. This case was really, really bad. But again, Michael Avenatti, he's her attorney. He went to jail and that was all she wrote. So the Stormy Daniels story, number 9, 700,000 people watched it. It's a fascinating story. If you guys want the links to any of these videos also, they're going to be in the description, but check this video out because it's interesting how things just got reversed so quickly in that story. Number 8, New York City migrants refuse to leave the hotels and claim they have a right to luxury.
The opening of the new migrant shelter at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn did not go as smoothly as some officials had hoped.
Several migrant families that were bused to the facility refused to stay there. They got right back on the bus. What's going on? How is this possible?
Check out what happened in New York City last night. Okay, protests broke out when dozens of people refused to leave the Watson Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. The city is kicking them out and relocating them to the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. Mayor Eric Adams has ordered construction of a temporary emergency shelter there for people who are in this country trying to stay here after crossing our southern border. Some of them told reporters conditions will be inhumane and there won't be enough food for them. So they want to leave the high-dollar hotel and go to a structure that the mayor is going to build for them. Brian.
It's outrageous.
Don't get me wrong. I understand people are coming from poverty and want to come to America. Hell, if I wasn't in America, I'd probably want to come here too. But the New York City officials have tried to do their best and put them up in hotels. And now since they can't afford to continue that process, they've moved these people, trying to put them in accommodations that they can afford. And for them to reject it and say they have this right to luxury, it's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. You've come here with nothing and you expect the government to take care of you. Now, that's what happens maybe in Venezuela. That's why Venezuela is failing. But here we're in a capitalistic society where you have to kind of make your own way. Now, mind you, generally, immigrants and migrants who come here don't want a handout. They want to work and be a part of the American lifestyle. They don't want to be a burden on the state. But these people seem to be okay with being a burden on the state. Matter of fact, demand that the city of New York do this, that the city of New York put them up in 5-star hotels versus this with, what the city could afford. And mind you, the city's already spent like $1 billion on migrant services. So it's one of those stories where you say, you want to help people, but these people are essentially slapping you in the face by like, I don't want to drink water. We want high value champagne. And it's like, no, unfortunately we can't afford the high value champagne and we don't have to do this. We're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. But that's what, the city of New York is dealing with now. Number 7, how Chicago's defund the police led to supermarkets closing in black areas.
All right, well, let's head back to Chicago, News Nation's headquarters. Chicago's mayor exploring the possibility of city-owned grocery stores in some Windy City neighborhoods. Mayor Brandon Johnson believes this will provide relief for communities without quality grocery stores living in those so-called food deserts. The stores would be funded with grant money, not just local taxes.
So crime has become so crazy in Chicago that the city now has to take over supermarkets. Okay, so we know what happened. Chicago defunded the police. They had the Black Lives Matter rallies. They did all that. And they said, we want to defund the police and stop prosecuting shoplifters. Now, what did that do? Well, in black neighborhoods, shoplifting and crime just exploded. And stores like Macy's, Walmart, Whole Foods, they just couldn't survive in places like that, even Target, because it was like, the crime is just too crazy in these areas, right? If we're holding our stores open and people are just taking stuff off the shelves, and then when we catch them, we can't hold them accountable, so they're just coming back again and again and again, then we can't run a business like that. Most of the stores, those big box stores, were losing millions and millions of dollars a year. So in black and brown communities that had these issues, they just pulled out. They said, okay, we just can't service those people. Now it's wild because the same policies that were intended to help black and brown people are those same policies that are destroying those neighborhoods. So now the black and brown people are begging for help, begging for some assistance from law enforcement, the federal government, to help businesses come back. So Chicago, again, I think sometimes it's the left-wing thinking is that government is always a solution. So they instituted this whole, let's just create government-owned supermarkets, which, as we all know, when the government runs anything, it runs it to the ground and it doesn't work. And I don't think government supermarkets are going to work. Instead of addressing the problem of crime and rampant shoplifting, it's a problem in Chicago. So this video did extremely well, and I think it really exposed the unintended consequences of both the defund the police narrative and the whole let's go light on crime narrative. Number 6, Tiffany A. Henyard, Super Mayor. Okay, so this is the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, telling residents to pay their taxes. She's gonna play Bitch Better Have My Money.
And I'm looking for that Rihanna. That's what I'm looking for. This is what they told me to tell y'all right here. Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
Actually, yes.
So I got to tell you a story, how we even found this story. So initially, me and my friend Dragnot Silvis, he's another YouTuber, we were searching for stories, interesting stories, and we came across Tiffany A. Henyard, and we were like, it can't be as crazy as it seems. So we just started doing the research, and we saw that she hired the child blank offender. We saw that she dressed up as like drug dealing gangsters at city hall meetings. She was spending the money like crazy. Like she was doing all types of crazy stuff. And we were like, how come no one has done a video on this woman? So we did the initial video. We were like, we didn't think it would do well because no one knew who this person was. Like, no one knew who Tiffany A. Henyard was. Nobody knew how crazy this stuff was. But the story was just so compelling and so funny that we said, okay, we'll do it and we'll see if people love it. And then people did love it. They got the first video did like 250,000 views. But then it's like more start coming out and more start coming out. So now that video almost has 900,000 views about Tiffany A. Henyard. And this is a story that keeps on giving because she continues to do crazy stuff. She continues to spend that crazy money. And the more you dig up into this story, the crazier it becomes. Like literally that whole, bitch better have my money story. That's hilarious stuff. Now, if you guys don't know the story of Tiffany A. Henyard, from locking out the city council to just spending their money to using the cops to go arrest people she doesn't like for political purposes. Like, she's done it all. She's literally done it all. You got to check out that video and check out the Tiffany A. Henyard videos because you'll have a good time. Those videos have got so crazy. They've gone viral on TikTok. They've gone viral on Twitter. It's like people really are shocked at how blatant the corruption is in Dalton, Illinois. So Tiffany A. Henyard is the number 6 story, and that story, again, is a wild story. Check it out if you want to have a good laugh. Number 5, Yale student cleared of assault, now suing accuser and school. So this student, who was acquitted of assault charges against the female student, is now allowed to sue both Yale University and his accuser for defamation. Let's talk about it. Now, again, this story is one of those stories where it was like, what happened? I didn't think anyone would watch this story in terms of having such a big reach. This story got 1 million views, people. And no one knows who this kid was. Now, he's been on Fox News, he was on News Nation, but those videos did like 20 or 30,000 views. So I didn't think this video would do anything. When I read the story and I started doing the research, I was like, oh, wow, this is such an amazing story. Why isn't it being covered by the mainstream media? And actually, I think I found the story on Ground News. A couple of these stories I did find on Ground News too. So I said, well, let me cover it. Let me just see how it would do. And I thought this would be one of those quick stories that you do. And, some people like it, some people won't. But this story just took off like a bomb and became a 1 million view story. So for those of you who don't know the story, this kid, he was in Yale. He was accused of the naughty thing against women. He was acquitted by a jury of his peers. Yale said, we don't like the acquittal, so we're going to kick you out anyway. And then that led this ball rolling to where now he sued the school, and the court said, well, yes, the school defamed you by having this fake sham hearing. And now he's able to sue not only the school, but his accuser for defamation. So it's a fascinating story that has the ability to change the landscape of sexual assault claims at universities. So it's a fascinating story. It did extremely well. I have to give so much thanks to Saif Khan because he came on and he shared his story with us. There was we did a live stream with him, and we also did a follow-up video. So this story, it was one of those stories where you don't know where these stories are coming because you just cover interesting stuff, and this was just one of those interesting stories that we thought was just going to be a fun story to cover for the channel because the stories that we cover. But this one just went nuclear, and 1 million views. This is the number 5 video of the year. Saif Khan, he was cleared and he's suing Yale. So, and again, we're still going to be keeping up with this story. Number 4, Trevor Bauer's accuser gets caught in big lie as she tried to set him up for a MeToo fraud.
Former Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer is speaking out after settling a lawsuit with a woman who accused him of sexual assault. Bauer released this video today claiming that he has evidence his accuser set him up and was trying to take his money.
Trevor says everything was completely consensual. He also released these text messages that came out in court indicating that you had planned the whole thing out. So I want to read some of these texts from you to a friend between the two of you before you met Trevor, this one. Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. Okay. Victim is an interesting choice of words. I'm going to allow you a chance to explain yourself. But after you agreed to meet, you asked your friend what you should steal. Your friend answered his money. He says, another one from you to a friend, I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. With a screenshot in which you told him, tryouts don't scare me, Bauer. Pick a day and I am there. Here are some more after you and Trevor met up. Net worth is $51 million, to which your friend responds, bitch, you better secure that bag. Your text, need daddy to choke me out, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million. You say this wasn't a setup. How can you expect anyone to believe that?
Now, the Trevor Bauer story is an interesting one indeed, because this, I think, is a clear example of someone lying to the law enforcement officials, to the media about being assaulted. And not only did she lie, she destroyed his career, because he was one of a Cy Young winning pitcher. And then after these allegations came out, then he lost his job. He's pitching in Japan now and those type of things. He lost a whole shit ton of money. So it's one of those interesting stories that shows you the power dynamic nowadays, where someone could just make a kind of a wild accusation against you. And even with all this evidence that he was able to produce, text messages, video and all the other stuff that showed that none of this stuff happened, that she was totally lying, she didn't get any repercussions. She was put in jail. She actually got $300,000 from an insurance company. So it's crazy how the scales or the balance is just tipped so crazy on one side or the other. And to be honest, this woman should be in jail. She perpetuated a fraud on both the public, the police, the civil courts. And, I think this story did so well because it really showed the absurdity of where we are now in the MeToo movement. Like, at the beginning, yes, it's true, there were powerful men who were being protected by the system. But that shifted to, let's hold all these powerful men accountable. But now it's going to the way where, hey, if a woman feels like someone did something to her, we're going to destroy his career because that feeling is enough to destroy someone's career. Evidence be damned, right? And that's with this story. This story, I think, moves so many people because the evidence was there, right? The evidence was there. And this is her in an interview being confronted with the evidence. And again, go check out this story and listen to her answers. Her answers are nonsense. They're BS. She has no answers for it because what she's saying is a straight up lie. This was a pure money grab. And unfortunately, the authorities chose not to hold her accountable. So what can you do? But this was the number 4 story. This woman lying about being assaulted by MLB pitcher and essentially getting away with it and getting some money. Number 3, trans women banned from women's division in the Olympics. Do they have an unfair advantage? 1.4 million views.
This morning, the international governing body over track and field announcing a ban that prevents transgender athletes from participating in female events after going through male puberty.
World Athletics has done something that loads of people have been calling for them to do for a very long time. It's ban trans women from being able to compete in female categories. Lord Coe, who's the governing body's president, said no transgender athlete who had gone through male puberty should be allowed in female world ranking competitions.
Transgender athletes will now be banned from competing in female track and field events at an elite level. The move by World Athletics comes months after the International Suing Authority made a similar ruling.
So the reason why I think this video did so well, because it really went to the science behind the gender gap in sports, showing the biological reasons why men and women's sports are separated. Now, this is even recognized in law in terms of Title IX, for instance, when colleges have to have women's sports and men's sports, because they know that if women had to compete with men for positions on, let's say, track and field or the swimming team, they would never get on, because the fastest woman to ever swim or the fastest woman to ever run in a track and field event wouldn't make a high school team, right? That's like the reality of it. And, I showed the numbers like Flojo, who is the fastest woman alive. She ran the 100 meters in like 10 seconds, and that's like the fastest any woman's ever run it. That loses today in high school boy races, right? High school boys routinely beat her world record that women can't beat even till this day. So this is the reality of the biological and physical differences between men and women, especially those who've gone through male puberty. And the transgender movement wants us to ignore that and allow biological men to compete with biological women and pretend that they don't have an advantage. And that's just nonsense. Like, even Serena Williams is here saying that, there's obviously a difference. She can't play against the men, and she's the greatest female tennis player to ever do it. And she says she can't play against the men. It's a totally different sport. So I think this video kind of put the reality of what's happening in this movement. And it's calling out the absurdity of pretending that biological men and biological women can compete in the same events and we can pretend that it's fair. If we're talking about chess, yes. If we're talking about pool, yes. But if we're talking about running, swimming, track and field, things of that nature, those, even combat sports, it's ridiculous. And I think this exposes that. And I think that's why this video did so well. And I even have clips in here, like this clip, of transgendered women who are saying, yeah, I'm still as strong as when I was, before I started taking the hormones. And to say that it's not true is just nonsense. And they understand, like she understands how I want to be able to present myself as a woman and be thought of as a woman. But the reality is I still have all these biological advantages of a man. Number 2, U.S. women's soccer team lose 24-1 to the men's team to prove a point.
To transition.
Here is the counter again, the step through the shot, another shot, and there it is! Game over, Sayward FC, as Brendan Lambie scores the game winner.
Brendan Lambie's a right-footed player. He's going for that bottom corner, and I think that's more down to being under so much pressure if you're the U.S. women's team. And when this ball ricochet, it's so unlucky.
Here's a turnover. Jarvis, there it is. Game over. 12-0, Wrexham defeats the U.S. women. And Wrexham just proved to be too tough for this team.
You never know what can happen. Harris here with the ball at her feet, and she's pressured, and that'll be it. Como 1907 knew the job they had to do coming in here. What a treat put on for these two fan bases, two of the best fan bases we've had at this tournament.
Okay, so this video was another video about the gender pay gap in sports. But it was about the women's soccer team. Now, they had just obtained equal pay from U.S. Soccer, and they wanted to enter this tournament, the TST tournament, for $1 million. Now, the plan is that the women's team would enter this tournament and have just an all-women's team, and that all-women's team would show the world that they could not only compete against the men, maybe they could even win this tournament. Now, this was in an effort to show that them achieving equal pay from U.S. Soccer was, they deserved it, because the men's soccer and women's soccer is essentially the same game, and that they deserved that recognition, that they were just as good as the men. But when you put them on the same field as that happened here, they got crushed by the men. The score was, as you see, 24-1. It wasn't even close. They got eliminated early. They were the worst team there. Now, the reason why is obviously, puberty, and just look a couple of, like literally last video, I think it was, or the video before last, where you see, the biological differences between men and women. And that reality shows here. Now, two things I just want to mention about this video too. I'm not saying that women shouldn't get paid equal to men. I think they should if the jobs are the same. And I also don't think being the best at something means you should be paid the most at it. For instance, in tennis, the women can't beat male tennis players. But at one point in time, women were getting paid more than men. And the reason why is because they were more marketable, they were bringing in more money, and rightfully so. If you bring in more money, you should get paid more. Even if the men are better, if they're not bringing the money, they shouldn't get paid. You don't pay, even though we believe that you should pay for performance, we don't pay for performance. We pay for results. If people want to see you and want to see you play and want to see you dominate, even if you're not the best, then you're going to get more money. And the same thing on the men's side. So in this particular instance, it's the men's soccer league that earns more money. It's the men's soccer league that people want to see. Women's soccer has a fan base, but it's nowhere near what the men's fan base is. So to say we're going to pay them equally when only one side is bringing in like the majority of the money is ridiculous. And as you know, in the lawsuit, it even said that U.S. Soccer was paying the women more than it was paying the men. So their whole lawsuit and their whole thinking about this thing was bad. But check out this video and you'll see it for yourself. How the women wanted to compete against the men, competed against the men, and that turned out to be an absolute disaster. Number 1, trans woman powerlifting record broken by man to prove a point. New world record. So this male powerlifter entered the women's event and broke all the records. Let's talk about it. So this is Avi Silverberg. Now he is the head coach for Team Canada's powerlifting team, and he's been in that position for about 10 years. Now this is the Canadian Powerlifting Union and their trans inclusion policy. So without reading the entire policy, it essentially says that an athlete gets to tell the organizers what their gender identity is, and the organizers have to allow them to participate in the events with the gender that they identify with. So if you're a biological male and you say, I identify as a woman, then they must allow you to compete with the women in that event. The policy also makes it clear that, quote, individuals are not required to disclose their trans identity or history to the CPU or to any of the CPU's representatives. So, in a nutshell, the Canadian Powerlifting Union is just going to take your word for it. If you want to compete with the women and you're a biological male, you just tell them, I identify as a woman, and they'll let you compete. Okay, so this is my top video ever, all time on YouTube. Almost 7 million views. I don't know how this happened. We wrote this script, we researched this thing, and we were like, this is probably just going to be another junk video. You know, I thought it was a good video. I thought it was a good story, but I didn't think people would consume it as it was. Honestly, we predicted it would be like 20 or 30,000 views, and it just went nuclear on us. This video was getting 1 million views a day at one point. It was unbelievable. And still to this day gets like crazy views. I just don't know what happened. It was so wild because when we were researching the story, we found all the clips and stuff. And I remember, I think I was telling my editor, I was like, I don't think it's going to do that well, but I just think it's a funny story. So we did it in our way and we put it out, and it was incredible to see like the bigger YouTubers who cover stuff like this, like covering this video, and to see like how many people were just like, the amount of reactions to this video was just like amazing, because people really found it to be funny and found it to be engaging. And you know, it showed me that I really don't know anything about YouTube, because this is the last video I thought was going to do this well. But it just did. And I think it was a combination of things. I think it brought in the fact of the gender pay gap. I think it also brought in the fact of the transgender issues. And this person, the woman who you're seeing on screen now, who's a transgender woman, that person says in this video, in her own words, that biological men or trans women competing with biological women is unfair. She says that. And I think that kind of brings everything home where, you know, what is fair? What's the level of fairness? How can we, you know, make this so everyone can be happy? And sometimes the answer is everyone can't be happy. But this video, it really, really touched the nerve. I think it hit all those points. And again, it was shared like insanity. So this was the top video of the year. And, you know, I got to thank everyone who watches. This video still gets so many views a month. It's like crazy. And I don't know why people love this video. This video has worldwide appeal because it's like across the world. People are literally watching this video. This video is up on TikTok. It's up on Facebook. I didn't put it up there, but it's literally gone viral on like all platforms. You literally find this video everywhere. I'm not making money from all I'm only making money from the ones on here, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And a lot of the top videos that I have are on Facebook. It's shocking how a video that I didn't think would do well at all became my top video. But let me know, did you like this video? Was this your top video of the year? Was it one of the other ones that we've done? Let me know in the comment section. Well, first things first, if you've made it to this part of the video and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? You're killing me here. You're killing me here. Just hit that button, right? It's free. It's free, all right? If you're part of the 1.2 or 1.3 million people every month who watch the videos and don't click on it, please don't keep me in suspense anymore. Just click the button for real. But I do want to say this. My content is always evolving. And like even now, I put stories out there that I don't know if they're going to do well. Some stories that I know are going to make the majority of fans mad. Like when I put a story that's negative to Trump, I know a lot of you are going to be mad at that. When I put a story that's out that's negative against Republicans, I know some of you are going to be mad at that. Like I have the ones against the women of liberty, sex scandal that's going to be coming out. I know people are going to be mad at that because they don't want to hear bad stuff against their side. But I try to be fair to all sides. And it's wild because as the channel evolves and as I evolve as a content creator, I do this because I honestly enjoy it. I honestly enjoy researching these things, telling these interesting stories, and giving you a full view of what's going on in the world. Because I think the news media, in today's news media, they have failed to just do something simple. And that's report the news. That's literally report the news. And a lot of the stories that I put forward are stories that aren't really covered by the news. And it's funny because you'll see like in some places they'll say Nate's a right-wing lunatic, and some other places you'll see Nate's a left-wing lunatic. But the reason why I think my channel has this right-leaning aura about it is because a lot of the stories that you see I'm covering are just not covered by the mainstream media. And they happen to be left-wing stories, right? It just happens to be that way. And that's the first thing a lot of people say, like, wow, I'm shocked. I didn't see this story covered anywhere. But you'll see it covered here because it's a story that I thought was important. Like even the Khan story, that story has a chance to change the way sexual assaults but the way sexual assaults are litigated in college campuses across the country. And my story on that is the largest story on YouTube. That's where I think the media is failing because again, it's trying to push certain narratives, but instead of just telling you the stories that you should hear or that you may want to hear, right? So I think that's my niche. My niche is to find those interesting stories and tell them to you in an interesting way. And, for those of you who choose to watch this video and not subscribe, or choose this video and this will be your last video, I want to say just watching this video and just being a part of this, being a part of my journey, it's one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. Being able to produce these videos, being able to tell these stories is essentially the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And you guys being a part of this journey makes it even more fulfilling. Now, I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there that you can watch. There's a lot of content out there you can watch. And the fact that you choose to watch my content, I'm some kid from Harlem that busted his ass, got his law degree, and, said, hey, I'm going to help people with that law degree, and now I'm going to go do YouTube because I feel like I can offer something to the world. You guys have validated that for me. And no matter where this goes from here, the fact that, I've had this success on this platform and hopefully can have some more success is amazing. And I want to honestly thank each and every subscriber, and I'm just going to be honest. I didn't think I would have 10 subscribers at one point in time. I still remember the time when I had less than 1,000 subscribers and I was just trying to get to the 1,000, and then it happened. And I remember being so happy at just at 1,000, like 1,000 people want to watch my stuff, right? Want to watch this stuff. And it made me, so humble and just, I'm going to work to give those people the best videos that I possibly can. And whenever I have a low point in YouTube, I still remember when I crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark and how that felt. and how happy I was, not for 400, but just for 1,000, just to have that many people saying, we're going to click that button. And, if I don't make it to 1 million, I've already won. And if you want to continue on with this journey, don't forget, you can also hit the subscribe button, or you could just come back and watch videos. At this point, it doesn't matter. But that has been my 2023 in 30 minutes or so. And I'm going to stop rambling and say Happy New Year to, if you're watching this before the New Year's Day. And if it's after New Year's Day, welcome to 2023. And let's try to see if we can kick some more ass. We got some great stories coming for the new year. We got some great stuff happening. We're going to be doing live streaming. We're going to be doing locals. We got a whole bunch of stuff planned because we're going all in to this YouTube game now that that things have settled down over here. So get ready, because hopefully things will get bigger and brighter. But with that said, my name is Nate the Lawyer. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.